Okay, welcome to a tutorial on how to install an AutoGate in 3 easy steps. Now, I've made a couple of these tutorials before, but I keep finding new and better ways to even speed up the process of installing AutoGate. So this tutorial will show some of the shortcuts that I've developed that make it even easier to install AutoGate. So if you already have an airport in your custom scenery folder, either a paidware airport or something you've downloaded for free, a custom airport, then you don't need to do this first step. The first step is for if your airport doesn't exist in the custom folder, the first step is you need to create a custom airport so that you can add AutoGate to it. So you open World Editor, and I think we're currently using version 2. So World Editor version 2. And even if you have older versions, but it's a freeware, just download it from the xplane forum. And the first thing you need to do is to create the airport that you want. So in this case, we're going to create a new airport, and we're going to add AutoGate to Vancouver International Airport because I don't have a custom airport for Vancouver in my custom scenery folder. So I need to have a custom airport in the custom scenery folder in order to add AutoGate. So it'll say untitled when you first create a new scenery package. Just type in the name of the airport, which in this case is CYVR, and we'll just say Vancouver, just so you remember what the codes are. And then open the scenery package, and what you'll find here is you'll get a blank screen looking like this. Go up to the File menu and say Import from Airport Scenery Gateway. Now this Airport Scenery Gateway is where all of the airport developers from around the world send their files, and they send them for review, and it's kind of like a little club of airport developers, and there's all kinds of versions of airports. So you'll find when we type in the version here, CYVR, we'll see Vancouver International come up, and you'll see that there's been a lot of people trying to develop the airport for Vancouver. You see a lot of them are approved, a lot of them are declined. So just check the one that says recommended, and it'll probably be the latest one, and it means that someone has looked at the airport and found that it lines up correctly so that you can import the packs for it. So this will import the basic design of the airport in World Editor. And then all you have to do is simply up here go export scenery pack, and that's all there is to creating the custom airport scenery pack in your xplane folder. And we can just quit this up here. It'll ask you if you want to save it. You can say yes. What it does is it saves an XML file, I believe, and then you can open that again. So now we've created the scenery pack in the airport folder, and if you look at the xplane folder now, you'll see that what we created in our custom scenery folder, you'll see one here, CYVR Vancouver. Alright, so we've got the airport now in our custom scenery folder. So now to add an AutoGate to that airport, we just use the program called Overlay Editor. And the Overlay Editor is a simple program that is downloadable from xplane forum, and it allows you to install on top of the airport gates and things like that. Now, the gates are defined in World Editor in terms of how a plane loads and the layout and the location, the GPS location of the gates, etc. So once you have created your airport in the custom scenery folder, I found the easiest way to set up an AutoGate is to actually load an airplane into the airport and then take notice of where it loads it. So in this case here, we're loaded at gate 14 at Vancouver International Airport, and we're actually using the new airport that we just created. So this is the airport that we just created using the World Editor. And take a look around to get your bearings as to where you are. So what you want to do is just make sure you understand the layout of the airport, because when you open World Overlay Editor, you want to find the right gate. So take a look at where you are with the runways, etc., as to what gate you're at. Because when you open Overlay Editor, you'll want to be able to quickly find that gate. So get Overlay Editor. Again, it's a free development tool that's available with xplane.org. And when you first open it, it's going to be just a blank blue screen like this. So we want to open that airport that we just created, which was the Vancouver Airport. And it's right here, CYVR. So when you open the Vancouver Airport now, you'll see the layout of the airport that you just created using the World Editor, or just actually downloaded from somebody else's creation. But the airport is available now for you to add AutoGates to it. So you'll find quite often, even in payware, you have lazy developers that don't put AutoGates on the airports, and it's not that difficult to do. You can if they took some extra time to do it, then they could create a nice payware airport, and people prefer to be able to have AutoGate when they land their planes. All right, so this is the airport here that we've just finished creating. And now we have to find that gate that our plane is parked at. It was gate 14. So use your mouse wheel to scroll in here, and you'll see here that the gate 14. Okay, so when you've paid attention to where your gate is at the airport, we're at gate 14. And when you're using the Overlay Editor, the numbers aren't always readily apparent, so you have to pay attention to the actual location. So when you open the Overlay Editor, you'll see where the plane is located here. And this is where currently the gate 14 here, right in front of this building here. So the controls for moving around in the Overlay Editor, you can use the arrow keys to move left and right, up and down like this. But you use the end key and the home key to rotate around left and right like this. And you use the page up and the page down key to shift the angle that you're viewing at. The vertical angle up and down, the page up and the page down key. And for moving the objects around, you use the ASD key and the QWE key. So the first thing you want to do is to look at where your plane is located. So we're going to switch to the plane here. We're going to zoom in, find out where that front wheel is located, because that's where you'll want to line up for your AutoGate. So if you're looking at the front wheel of the plane here, you can see that it's located just behind this second bar here. There's a bar, 2 bars, and in between here, and it's lined up right on the center line. So let's switch to the overlay editor, and then let's just zoom in on here, and you see this little X here. Moving the arrow keys on your keyboard, you can move around and move that X where you want the wheels of the plane to land. All right, and then you can use your home key and your end key to shift around. So what you want to do is line that line up, perpendicular. So that is about where you want the AutoGate to land. So now I forgot to mention initially about the AutoGate kit. So let me just take a second to describe that. The AutoGate kit you can download. Again, it's a free download. And here's the AutoGate kit. You'll notice a number of folders in the AutoGate kit. You've got the marshaler here. You've got these are all electronic docking mechanisms here. And then you've also got then the gateways here, that both the glass and the steel, and you've got standalone static ones as well. So what you want to do is copy the folders that you want from the AutoGate kit into the Vancouver airport, or the airport that you're working on. So in this case, we want a marshaler, we want the helpers, we want the marshaler, the helper, and we're going to put in some glass jetways. So you copy those folders and then load them into your custom folder, the Vancouver airport. So we go to the custom scenery, we've got our Vancouver airport there, and then just paste those folders in there. All right, so now we've got the folders that we need in the airport. Now what you need to do is to paste those folders in there before you load the overlay editor. So we're going to just come back once we'll have to restart the overlay editor again, ensuring that those folders are there. Okay, we're back, and we have reloaded the overlay editor. Now as you can see from the plane here, you can see that when this plane here, how far away it is from this gate. The AutoGate, or the gate, is not even close to the aircraft, and it would have to come a long ways for the aircraft. So we're going to fix that when we put in the AutoGate, and we're going to ensure that the AutoGate works for this particular gate, which happens to be gate number 14. So it actually doesn't take long to put in these gates. So you can see all the gates are numbered here. So pay attention to that, because if you want to put in a whole bunch of gates, then pay attention to the numbers, and you can load the overlay editor and xplane, have them both open at the same time, and it's best to have on one screen the overlay editor and the other screen the plane, and working in conjunction with each other, you can really put in the AutoGates in a hurry. Anyhow, you look at this, you can see from gate 14 here, the plane is a long ways from the gate. So again, we want to pay attention to where the front wheel is. So we'll zoom in there, and we notice that it's just at the second T-bar there. So now let's bring up the overlay editor here. And to zoom in on the overlay editor, you use the mouse wheel. And as we mentioned previously, this X here, you want to line up that X where the wheel is going to touch. And so using the arrow keys, you can just move this around here. So that's about where the wheel is, and then you use the home key and the end key for rotating. So you want to line that up perpendicular. Now let's just zoom out a little bit. Unfortunately, when you zoom out, the X also moves. But you can see we've got a long ways to go there. So it'll help to know exactly what we're looking at. So let's just line this X up at a distance here. And so that's still, the X is in the correct spot. Then you want to put in here your jetways. Now, if you don't see these jetways here available immediately for you, maybe you've looked at something else, just type up here jetways, and then a list of them comes up. Those are the folders that you copied into the custom scenery folder. And now you can see we want to connect this jetway here. So you can actually build it from coming out from here or from here, whichever is more convenient. So let's just take a look and see how we're going to do this. Let's first of all try maybe an AutoGate straight here. And since it's a long ways out, we got about 32 meters. Let's see how that lines up. All right, so that you can build a gate for this coming out here instead of over here. It all depends on what your preference is. Now that is sitting right in the middle of a roadway there, so we may not want that. So this is where you come in a little bit of construction, but the idea is that you keep that X in this spot here and this lined up perpendicular to you whenever you're entering different tests and case scenarios. So the other option is you can create a perpendicular gateway like this. That'll come out this way, and then you can build it in over here using extensions. So that might be the best solution. So then we just build some extensions on there and tie into here. So the key is to keep that X there where you want it, so that when you add your gateways here, they're going to be lined up perfectly and you don't have to touch them at all. So we've picked a rather complex one to get started in, but let's go ahead and see what we can do. We're going to go with a perpendicular one here that comes out and connects to the plane here. Then all you have to do is build it in there. So let's get rid of what exists there. We'll maybe keep that because it's built a bridge across the gateway there. So now we need to create an extension that connects this together here. So you'll see here, if you type in jetways again, you've got here some connections, and you've got here the 15 meters, the longest connection that you have. So let's just add one there and see what we got here. That's not a connection. We want an extension. Let's look for an extension. So looking at the extensions here, we have extensions here, and again 15 meters is the longest extension that we have. But what you can do then is use the arrow keys ASD and QWE, and you can rotate it using the QWE keys and move it around using the ASD keys. And we've got a little bit of extension here, but we may have to add a bit more. So we got that, and then now we can just add a connection here. We've got the 15 meter extension. Let's try for a 15 meter connection. Add that and just move that around over into position here. Rotate it a bit. Move it back into position. We might have been able to get away with a 10-foot one, But there you have it. You've got your gateway built now. Nice glass gateway for your gate. And that AutoGate will work for you whenever you connect the plane. Alright, so we might want to move that back in a little bit. Alright, see how that looks. So we probably could have got away with a 10-meter extension there. We may still end up using the 10. Let's take a 10. Delete that, get in the 10, add it. All right, so you can see it takes a little bit of fiddling around, particularly for this complex extension that we've had to build, where we've had to do quite a bit of construction. But normally the AutoGates, they line up much better than this, where you have to build a lengthy extension. And you can see we've got a good AutoGate there now connected together. So all you do then is push the save. So now whenever you land your plane at gate number 14 there, you've got the AutoGate in function. So let's go ahead back to the xplane here, and let's look at the next gate we want to add. So we'll add 15 next. So in xplane then, just change your location here. Go to flight configuration, change location, customize here. We were at 14, and we'll move to number 15. And start a new flight. Now this is, rather than shutting down xplane every time and then opening a new gate, just by changing the configuration there to the new gate, it only takes a little bit of time to load the plane as compared to shutting it down. Some people with slow computers, I think it takes them 5-10 minutes or more to load up the plane. So you can see it takes a little bit of time every time you change the configuration in xplane, but it's still faster than completely shutting down and starting up again. And then every time your plane loads, it'll land right, or it'll load right on the spot where it's going to need for the plane. So we've configured this gate here. This is gate number 14. Now it's not immediately present because we didn't reload xplane. We're just using the existing load and then just changing the gate. So when you quit xplane and load it up, this new gate here that we installed here will be evident. But right now it's not showing because we didn't quit xplane and start it up again. So let's take a look at where the wheels are on this. And you can see again, located right behind the second T there. So we just bring up our overlay editor now, and this is the gate we're going to be replacing right here. And we just rotate it a little bit. Zoom in a little bit with the mouse. And we'll move that X, this little X here, into position. All right. So we've got that X in position, and we may rotate this just a little bit just to get it perfect. There we go. All right, so now we want to replace this extension here. So let's again look at the straight gate here, see if that works. And we'll try for the 29 footer, see how it works here. I'll add that. It's a little bit long. Try for the 26 footer. Add it, a little bit long still. But try the 20 footer. All right, so you can see that the gates or the extensions and the gates are not going to line up perfectly what's already there. And you don't want to rotate them because then that'll mess up the line up with your plane. So you have to create a little extension going over to what's already existing there. So that's probably the right length, and it's probably the right type of gate we want to use here. So we'll just delete this existing gate here, and then we just tie this in down at the bottom here. So let's take a look at what we do have to tie in here. And it's not much actually. So just a little 5-foot connection piece will probably work. So we'll get the type in jetways up here again. And we'll look for the connection piece. Say just a little 5-piece connection here. We'll add it. We need to rotate it around. And then slide it into position. All right, see how that looks. All right, so that's probably not too bad. All right, so we've got, you can fiddle around with that, but I'm not going to take the time right now to fiddle around with that. So let's go ahead and pushing Control C will bring you back to where that gate is going to line. Then you want to put in the helper. Now the helper here kind of shows you a green zone where you want to put your marshaller outside the green zone. So this puts the area here that you don't want to put the marshaller inside this area, as it somehow messes up the alignment with the AutoGate. Then typing up here, I think it's DGS, brings up the marshaller. But first of all, let's move that X. Oops. We want to move the X to where we want the marshaller to land. And all you do is just use the arrow keys on your computer, and probably the marshaller, if we put them about here, is probably a good spot. And just type up there DGS again. Add the marshaller. There you have it. All right, so we've added 2 gates there in relatively short time, and if you're doing a number of them, you get a lot faster at it. And the key is just moving your plane every time, pushing the save button there once you finish that, But just lining the plane up and lining the X up with your wheels and having it perpendicular with the plane, the angle of the plane coming in for adding your auto gates. And then just once you've added your auto gate with the correct approximate distance, and you just tie off the end into the building. Okay, let's just test this auto gate that we put in now, and let's see, we've got the complex long gate coming out here, and if you can see here the marshaler, this is the marshaler that'll guide you into position on your plane when you're coming in. So let's just release the parking brake, assuming we're ready to leave, and see what happens. And you can hear the bells ringing, and you can see the auto gate pushing back. So the gate is working perfectly, and here's the gate number 15, I believe it is, that we built over here. And initially I can't remember if I put the marshaler in gate 14, because when I quit to start up to test it, he was missing, but it could have been because I forgot to save him. But in case I forgot to tell you how to put the marshaler in, I explained it when we put in the gate 15. So I trust you've enjoyed the video, and you can actually add these auto gates pretty quickly once you get started using the techniques I've developed. Give me any feedback that you want, and have a safe flight.